We are proud to partner with Clicks, one of Africa's largest retailers, to spotlight the remarkable stories of bravery, resilience, and innovation behind women-led businesses that supply to Clicks. We will delve into these homeborn stories. At Conscious Leaders, we believe every woman is a movement. Her win is our win. And every time we buy a product from one of these courageous duchesses we will be interviewing, we know that we are supporting a dream, her family, her community, her society. My name is Carmen Murray, your hostess and founder of Conscious Leaders, a women in leadership network. So, welcome, Liz Letsoalo. Sorry about that. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. Listen, you walked in and I was like, I feel like we are going to have a professional troublemaker conversation here, right?
Okay.
Okay. Never underestimate the dynamite. Okay. So, I think for our audience, just so that you are aware, what we want to do today is we want to talk about the journey of Liz with her products that she's developed, Masodi Organics. But I think more importantly, before we get into that, we really want to understand who you are, what you've been up to, and who are you as a day-to-day person when nobody's watching.
Oh man, I'm a kid who just wants to play. I just want to play. So, I guess there's so many things that I identify as, and my individualism comes first. I am me. I am I. I'm the person who has loved to play ever since I've known myself. I've always just wanted to occupy my time with play and fun and exploring. There's a running joke at home. So I'm the last born, youngest of 5 kids.
Wow.
So there's a running joke at home that I had it a bit easy growing up. When they were getting spankings, and I would get naughty, mom said, no, leave her, she's exploring. Right. So I was the kid who was afforded the opportunity to explore. I love to play. Loved to be in touch with my family, with my loved ones, but also loved time by myself. I fantasize a lot. I spend a lot of time creating things in my mind. I love being a friend. I love being a partner. I love being a daughter, a sister. I just love good spaces, good vibes, good times, good things.
Love that. Yeah. Oh my word, what an introduction. Okay, now you've touched on one of my favorite words is play. I said the moment this year began, my year is all about creativity, and I'm going to lean into that.
Yeah.
So I love that you've brought that up because it takes courage to be creative, and I never realized the courage that you would need to be creative because that fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Where, I could never do this, or this idea is crazy, nobody's going to love it. And we create our ideas eventually for what the world would perceive it as rather than it coming from us.
Yeah.
So talk me through your creative process and, how you've managed to nurture it.
Yeah. So it goes twofold for me. The first part of it is that it starts from internally. I'm one of those people who create from inside. I don't create from the external world. And that sometimes, to what you've just said, might come across as dodgy, doesn't make sense. What is that? What are you saying? What are you doing? But that's never really been a concern of mine. If something resonates with me from, the inside of Liz, let's go. We're going to bring it out into the world. And the second part of it for me is that creativity and innovation are part of play for me. So if I'm just sitting around and I think of something fun or something cool or something curious or interesting, or funny, a part of me wants to bring that into the world. So I guess for me, the merging of play and the merging of really who Liz is comes together to create whatever creativity that I would be seen to bring out into the world. And I absolutely love that. So every time I'm confused about something, I'll go into solitude because I need to figure out what does Liz have to say about this. Every time I need to create something, I'll shut out oftentimes the world. And for many people, because I'm such a bubbly character, I'm so outspoken, they think, I'm always out there. I've got tons of people with me. I prefer to actually spend a lot of time with like a very solid group of fewer people that I know we can go really deep. And if I need to run ideas past people, then there's very few trusted voices that I know I have. and then I tap into that. That's as external as I go. But the rest of the stuff is really just Liz sitting in a room by herself, or Liz, listening to music and creating, or Liz, just lying on the couch and fantasizing or daydreaming, and something comes out of it.
You've given meaning to the word fantasizing. Seriously. But it's so important to fantasize. We're seeing a lot of people going through guided meditations and imagining the future and all of that. But when you're in a creative process, you're doing it automatically, right?
Yeah.
You're creating for the future in the present.
And you're absolutely also in the moment. So it's like you're fantasizing about the now, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is something I want to happen in the future, but I need to bring it to life now.
Love it.
And if someone thinks it's cringeworthy now. So you almost like go through all the emotions at the same time. But if you try to remove a little bit of emotion from time to time, it helps, right? Because sometimes, like I say to people, if you looked at Masodi's first batch of products that we put out there, the branding, the labels, oh my goodness, I want to hide, right? But that for me is part of the radical acceptance of imperfection and potential criticism and potential judgment that comes with being in the arena and trying to create something. You're not going to be perfection all the time. You're not going to create perfection all the time. But I think what I've come to value, and what to a certain extent I've always valued, is progress. Are you making progress? Are you having a good time? Are you learning? Are you iterating? Are you improving? Are you growing? And that for me is like the most important. I can never at any given point say I have the absolute perfect thing. And at any given point, I'm like, okay, whatever I've done, I can always improve. So I'm always, I guess, that's also the the unfortunate side of things, where you always feel like I can do better, I can do more. But no problem, let's go.
As a business owner, and specifically, the products that you've created, being so courageous with it and saying, you know what, I know it's not perfect, but I'm still going to put it up, because I think we as women, and I'm guilty of it myself, do have this tendency of, I call it, I'm rehabilitating from perfectionism, because there are days where I struggle, but not being so hard on yourself and trying to get everything out there so perfect. What is your view on what your buyers probably think about that? Do they embrace it? What is your view on that?
To be fair, a lot of the things that we see as imperfect is just mostly to do with us and what's going on internally. There is like these 3 key things that normally we get customer feedback about. Number 1 is, oh my goodness, your branding is so incredible. That time you're sitting in a corner, you're like, oh my gosh, and the second part is, which I'm so proud about, is, oh my goodness, this product did XYZ for me. And people are even so generous to share results and whatever, and, to share the crazy stories of their daughters and what they said. And then lastly, it's, oh my goodness, I was so happy when I saw your products on the shelves at Clicks.
Oh wow.
We get that quite a lot. So a lot of the fears of not being perfect enough, it's just in your mind sometimes. No one is actually judging you. Sometimes we have things that go on in our own minds. Oh my goodness, no one loves you. Oh my goodness, I'm so imperfect. Oh my goodness, I'm so annoying. And sometimes you put all of those internal voices in your head on other people, and you say, growing up, people said. And if you really think about it from a fact-based perspective, sometimes no one actively said to you, I think there is something wrong with you.
Sure.
You just in your own space, and I'm not saying it is dismissed, right? It was your reality. But that reality was something that was happening with just yourself. And therefore, the work starts with the voice that's inside of your head that says, people are laughing at your products. And that time, everyone is so proud of you. Everyone is enjoying the product. Everyone is so even encouraged to pursue their own dreams. So there is that part of yourself that you need to confront as a human being who is trying to be creative and who is determined to achieve something. Because your internal voice is the first voice that is actually going to create a lot of conflict within yourself. Even if an external voice says that. If your internal voice is strong enough, it'll dismiss it and say, why are you lying though? Why are you saying my products are messy when they're not? Don't lie on my work. Because the internal voice is strong and it knows how to protect you and to protect your reality and to protect your truth.
Liz is touching on something so important that I just want to highlight, is the self-limiting belief that we have, that we believe this is the way the world perceives things. Yet it's what we perceive. And then if nobody has ever said something like that to you, what you're hearing in your head, then it can't be true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think the shame is that it steals so much of your power and so much of the amazing things you would have done. I struggle to believe that, there is no one who has done amazing things. I think everyone has sparks of light in them. I think everyone is brilliant in some shape or form or in some area. And it is so sad when you see how much so many people don't feel like rock stars in their own spaces. They don't feel like stars in their own right, even if in the tiniest of spaces, even in the smallest of ways or of things. You cannot tell me that there is not one thing that you can say, there is my light. Or, there I know I killed the game. I'm so thoughtful. I'm so kind. There's my spark. Or I'm so creative, or I know how to draw really well. There I can, you know what I mean? And I think for me, that is the challenge we have for ourselves, right? Because you need to be confident that you can overcome the smaller obstacles as a way to also continue boosting your own confidence for overcoming the bigger obstacles. So you start with the little small things and the small voice that says, how could you say that, you dummy? And then you're like, no, I can't call myself that. If someone tries to come for you, and you need to very clearly and very quickly say, the word you used on me, you can't call me that. I don't receive it. Because also then there's people who are going to call you things that have absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with themselves. And if you let that kind of stuff attach on you, then you're going to be in trouble. And that trouble means that it's going to get in the way of your work, in the way of your joy, in the way of just yourself living an unlimited life.
Yeah. I totally love what you're saying. I've got quite a backwards also theory about this. Something I was talking to one of my friends about is this whole thing about gossip, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting for me about gossip is that the moment that you surround yourself with gossipers and the moment that you start participating, there's a thing that's happening in your head where you're going, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're talking about me the way that they talk about other people. And now you participate in that. But what really happens to you is you start withdrawing a part of yourself because now you don't want to share everything about yourself. But what people don't realize is when you are in that drama triangle of gossiping, is that the more you are engaging in this conversation or surround yourself with people that are always, talking bad about other people and so forth, it starts having an impact on your self-worth. Because you go, I can't be productive anymore because I can't participate anymore. You start withdrawing because you start making up all of these ideas in your head.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, what is really impacted is your self-worth.
Yeah.
And if you want your self-worth back, when people gossip around you, you say, sorry, I don't have capacity for this right now. Don't engage in gossip, because that is how you get trapped into this world of not feeling worthy.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think for me, the other part of gossip that bothers me is that I think it erodes innocence.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm a village girl. And when I came to the city, retrospectively, I think I was very naive about what the city would be like, things like gossip. I'm not saying people in the village, I don't gossip, or people in the village don't gossip. But there's gossip that is harmless. Like, did you see what mom is wearing today? Oh, and then it's banter in a way. But there's a level of, you and I have somewhat of a sacred relationship. And then I discover that it is possible that we can have such a sacred relationship, and then you go and you gossip about me. That for me is like an erosion of innocence. I don't think it is normal for anyone to hold on to that belief that I can be so close with you, or that I can be so positive about the relationship that we have, even if it's an acquaintanceship. And then later find out that it is possible that that can happen within the context of the sacred relationship or acquaintanceship. Because what that means now is that now everyone is walking around guarded. And it erodes the innocence, because now even people who have not gossiped about you, you start being cautious around people. It takes away the element of connectivity between people, between women in particular, this Women's Month. And I think it's so unfortunate, because it's a small act that some people see as innocent, but it has big implications on just like broader connectivity and encouraging or discouraging people to try and connect with strangers.
Yeah, it's so beautiful what you're saying, because if you think about trust is the currency of the 21st century. We're living in a post-truth trust era, post-truth era, sorry.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing there is we need to bring trust back. And the only way that we can bring it back is to learn to trust yourself first. And then when you trust yourself is when you can actually express yourself authentically. Trust and authenticity goes hand in hand, and how you operate in the world around yourself. So those two elements are so important.
Yeah. And it feels like in the business world, there is this new feeling of, be goal-oriented, and goal being money. But I think I'm starting to see more and more people talk about the concept of community, even from within a business perspective. For example, you'll have brands talk about how can we build a sacred community for our brand. So I do appreciate that. And you start seeing a lot more women-led businesses actually do that. They're saying, how can we prioritize community building in the context of business?
Yeah.
Beautiful. But sometimes the manner in which we go about community building is in destructive ways. When you look at there's always that mean community over there. That's just so, focused on bringing other people down as a community, because it's possible. Community can be used both for the good and for the bad, but the one thing that I will appreciate and I will applaud is just the effort of seeing people consciously saying we need to infuse community back into our everyday lives and in business in particular, because it's unusual to want community in business.
Yeah,
we're here to make money. We're not here to make friends. But are we not?
Yeah. I love what you're saying, because in America they had a report that came out that I think it's $600 billion worth of revenue that comes from the hermit consumer. And this is the cocooning where we hide in our houses and we don't want to engage with people. But I think if we look at the counter trend of that is how we want to start going out, but it's smaller communities. It's more about 10 people rather than being around 100 people.
Yes.
And this is what I'm starting to love to see, is these healthy communities, but also having different communities for different tasks. I want to achieve my dream. I have a specific sisterhood around me for that, but then there is a big political goal which we're going to talk about that I have, and I need to surround myself with trusted politicians and institutions that can help me achieve those goals. So I really applaud you for bringing up that. But in your sisterhoods, what is the thing that you're so grateful for?
I think first and foremost, I'm just grateful for a space where I don't have to be so perfect. I can go to my best friend Siwe's house and just she'll cook and say, hey, I've cooked, you want to eat? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on my way. And I hop into the car, I go to Siwe's house, we sit on the couch, we eat, we talk about everything, right? It's a moment for me to unplug from the world and stop being a businesswoman and stop being, this or that. I'm just a friend and I'm just having fun and we're just talking. And the nice thing about, in particular, my friendship with Siwe, for example, is we go back many years, and she would have seen me in different phases or stages of my life. Sometimes I say, dude, do you remember when we used to say, and you're like, oh my gosh, what? And I think those kind of friendships for me are so valuable, because they give you a measure of how well you're progressing or you're growing or you're not, right? And if there's something that happens and say, would be like, yeah, that's something you would do. And I'm like, why do you say that? She's like, yeah, you've always been sort of like this way. And sometimes it helps you accept yourself better when you have someone who says, you've always been like this though, friend. And I'm not talking about the negative traits where maybe there's an area for development. Of course, some people have always been a certain way, but if something is unhelpful or unhealthy, there's always opportunity to change it. But yeah, I guess that's the first part of sisterhood, just the joy that comes from just knowing that I have an Ija or a Siwe who I can go to and enjoy. The second part of it is actually the actual support. I find that women will show up for you for you in ways that are also material. For example, if you, and I'm not saying this is a reality, but I've seen sparks of such examples where you go maybe to a male friend and you say, I have this issue, and they say, sheesh man, that's so tough, I'm so sorry mate, and they, of course, they'll empathize and whatever. But sometimes if you say to a woman, I'm moving out and I'm so stressed, it's like, can I come and pack the boxes with you? Do you know what I mean? So I found that sisterhood is also having a gang of people who are going to be able to show up for you, both emotionally but also in material ways. If you say, shucks, I'm broke and I don't have money and I'm struggling, they'll say, hey, here, it's not much, but here's 250 rands to pay for electricity. So I think sisterhood also is just that sacred space where you know that you have 2, 3, 5 people who will always give you a home, who'll always give you a safe space, and who'll always absolutely love you and vocalize it. That's women. And I think lastly for me, women are a source of inspiration for a lot of things that I do, both inspiration and motivation. Masodi is my mother's name.
Oh wow,
right.
Beautiful. And
it was when I named the brand Masodi, it was because it was my recognition of how in awe and how inspired and how grateful I am to Masodi, the individual, the woman she is, Masodi, the woman in particular, and then Masodi, the mother.
Oh, beautiful.
And those are 3 different phenomena, because I don't want her to just be a mother, or I don't want her to just be a woman. I want her to be everything she is, even in her individuality. So it was recognizing all these 3 parts of this woman, and that for me is the third part of just my experience of women. I am in awe of women, and I am just so also grateful for women, because in a world that wasn't always geared to supporting or to nourishing our dreams, look at us.
Yeah, we're rising.
Look at us.
It's so beautiful to see. And what I love about what you also said just now is I watched How to Get Away with Murder. I'm almost at the end, and there's something that was said quite profound, that men tend to invest, women are donators.
Ooh.
Isn't that deep?
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, that's how we invest, is through donating our time, donating our friendships, and donating who we are, and bringing ourselves to the table and nurturing. However, that to me just spoke to me on all levels of how different we are. And it is our time, but it's our time to bring everybody together, and to bring collaboration and unity and solidarity. And this is why I believe it's such an exciting time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Yes. Getting so excited. So let's talk about Masodi. How did this all come about? I mean, it's quite a bold thing to start a product line, and it's to get that baseline product ready and right.
Yeah.
So talk me through the journey. What was the problem you tried to solve?
Yeah, so I can't talk about Masodi without talking about good hair. So I had 2 of my best friends, Siwe Yengedi and Ija Ogwang. Siwe is now doing a PhD in development finance, stuff that I don't understand. Ija has now gone on to be an author and do other things also that I don't understand. But we started this mobile salon called Good Hair. And it came from, it's back in 2015, the natural hair movement was on the rise, and Black women were starting to ask themselves, why can't we enjoy our hair? But also questioning the logistics of looking after your hair. If I want to braid my hair, it's like an 8-hour experience, for example. My work life is not geared to support that, because I'm not taking my Saturday to go and spend 8 hours in the salon braiding my hair, and then come Sunday, I've only had 1 day on the weekend. So we started to think about how can we simplify our lives, and how can we actually take control of some of the issues that we have and solve them for ourselves. And of course, that venture didn't work out, but it had introduced me to the beauty world. And because I'm very politically minded, and very interested in the politics of the world and of life and of everything, I thought this is actually the merging of politics and beauty. You cannot almost separate the two in the same way you can't separate politics from many other things that happen in the world. And I was very then interested in the sector, and I started understanding things like product, service, and all other things, the storytelling and the narratives that were out there. And back then, 2015, 2014, 2015, 2016, the conversations were actually so active when it came to beauty, especially in the context of Black women. And as you're participating, I just found myself thinking, if the service business didn't work yet, I would love to revisit it. But would it be interesting to, think about this thing as an ecosystem, but start from a product perspective and then build it backwards? Right. And then that's how Masodi started experimenting with different oils and butters in my kitchen, played around with them while I had a full-time job. I would use them with myself, and I would love some of the stuff. And then my family, friends started ordering, had an online store. And within a year, this thing was sort of like blowing up in my face and surprising me. So I quit my job to go and grow it. And within a year and a half, then Clicks was like, hey, we see what you do, we're interested. And I was like, oh, this is bizarre. And just like that, then the ball started rolling. And one thing led to the next. Now you need to think about manufacturing capacity to be able to service Clicks. Now you need to think about what other products can I introduce to make this range more complete and more fuller. Now you need to think about what else can I offer that is actually not on the shelves today. If I wanted to, come up with if there's a product that I have on my wish list, what is it that is not there? And for me, one of those things was like a hairline fortifying serum and a root stimulating serum. Well, I was like, actually, we've got serums that we understand to work for the face, but we don't have serums and masks and exfoliators for the scalp. And the scalp is very much part of your skin or extension of your skin, although it has a different sort of like dynamic because it's got hair and follicles and whatever, and they're thicker than on your face. But the science should be sort of, we can think about it the same way. And, so happy because sometimes you think I must be crazy to want to come up with a product that no one introduced. But now you go into the market and you're starting to see a few. But I think we're one of the very few to put it on the retail shelves, simply because we were creative, we thought about something, and we didn't shut down that voice that said, I think this makes sense. Why do we not have it out there? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's how basically Masodi started in the kitchen, moved to the garage, and now to a workspace that continues to grow.
Oh, I love it. It's so inspirational. Oh my gosh. But you know what? This is so important. It's an important message because I'm sure that everybody's got a dream. We all want to create that one thing that we want to have, that one product or, that one shop or that career change that you want. What advice would you give women to be resilient around investing in themselves,
Yeah, I would say that, and some of these terms are very intimidating. Invest in yourself sounds so big and so scary. Oh my gosh, I'm going to school to do, my master's or investing in yourself, in my view, is as simple as being curious about something, going on YouTube, searching it up, watching it in your own time, and enjoying that content. Investing in yourself is as simple as identifying a stumbling block, whether in your creative process or just emotionally, say, I don't think I'm in the right place, I'm scared, I have great ideas but I don't trust myself. Say, hey, maybe I need to speak to someone about this so that they can help me become a better version of myself, so that I can get out of the way of myself and allow my dreams to actually come to life. That's investing in yourself. Investing in yourself is standing up for yourself. When someone says, oh my gosh, what are you doing? You stand up for yourself and you say, I'm doing something. And in 2 years, you won't say that to me, because everyone or most people I know who have created something have been shamed at a certain point for either what they were doing, how they were doing it, where they were doing it, the time. There's just some aspect of you or the product you're creating that's going to be shamed. And it's so important as part of, investing in yourself, to put in place the right self-beliefs, the right tools for your own self, the right practices to make sure you are able to internally stand up for yourself, such that when that moment comes, you don't crumble.
Yeah.
When that moment comes, first of all, you're able to recognize it for what it is. Say, it's not nice, but I see exactly what this is. And secondly, I know exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do exactly what I need to do to continue living out my dream and to continue helping those I can help and to continue growing this dream of mine to the ultimate greatest it can be, the version of itself.
Ooh, the world is an oyster. I'm telling you, like big things to come. And you're only 33.
Only 33.
Only 33. It's just like, she is like a tree shaker. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Okay, so I'm very keen to understand, how did you get your products? Because I know for Clicks, it's very important. They're proudly South African. They're really all about supporting local companies and, getting it into the stores, etc. What was that journey like? How did you manage to get your products into Clicks?
You know what? I took a bit of a risk, right? I actually reached out to Clicks. At the end of year 1 of having founded my business, I reached out to Clicks. And before I talk about how I reached out and what happened, I also need to contextualize for people so those who've been reaching out for years don't feel like they're doing something wrong or there's something wrong. I've worked for a consumer goods company, Unilever. So there were parts of me that understood that consumer goods game. I've worked for Unilever for 2 years and I've done other things, consulting work outside of Unilever. So to a certain extent, I understood the intricacies of the consumer goods space. I understood the key players and, how the functions are set up, what I needed to do. I could already envision what a consumer goods organization is meant to be structured like. And even if I was one employee at Masodi at the time, I was one employee who worked for different business units.
You see?
I knew what the business units were. And even in my reaching out, I think the culmination of my professional experience, I need to give credit for all those organizations that I worked for before going into entrepreneurship, has really helped. Because my pitch deck, I didn't struggle with my pitch deck. I've been in consulting. Knowing that I need to reach out to a buyer, I'm just not going to go to info, and I know how to look for buyers on LinkedIn and so on. It made it easy. And I had reached out to Clicks for probably about 6 straight months or for a while before I could get a response. I started reaching out for Clicks as soon as I was mixing the things. And the reason for that was I anticipated that I wasn't going to get in like that quickly. I just wanted to know, can I get a response? And I didn't. But the moment I got a response, even then I wasn't ready to get into Clicks. But I just wanted to know if you give me a response, then I can start saying, oh my God, let's put things in place to make sure that we're ready. So even with that response, it was a bit of some time. But the way I was prepared, I went with my product. I flew to Cape Town to meet the buyer. So reached out to the buyer, got a response, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my goodness, this is my chance. She said, obviously we're in Cape Town, I can do a meeting. So I suggested we do a meeting. She said, okay, cool, I can do this. Booked myself on a plane to Cape Town. Took my products, and at the time it was the old range, didn't look that great. Took my products to Cape Town, had my pitch deck printed, 2 copies, one for the buyer and whoever the buyer was with, presented. And I also presented the case of, what do I think you stand to benefit for having a local brand in your stores, particularly Masodi on your shelves. And I think one of the things we think about as small businesses from time to time is, what can I get from a big organization? But every big organization can benefit from partnering with a smaller organization. And when you do your research and you understand what the business priorities are at the time, ESD was one for Clicks, according to my research at the time. I knew that, not in an arrogant way, I knew that it was an important thing for them to also, materialize this ESD and supporting local brands goal that they had. And I was like, oh, there's a shared opportunity for us. There's this goal that you want to support local brands and to help them in their growth journey. And there's this opportunity I want of putting Masodi products on retail shelves across South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia. Stars are aligned. Why not? And from there, the conversation started being less about bring Masodi to the shelves and more about what do you need from me to be Clicks ready. And that was also a journey, right? After that moment, I think it must have taken a year and a half for me to just get the right finance, everything else were fine. Just the right financing to be able to allow us to manufacture the amount of quantities that Clicks wanted to be able to put our product on the shelf. It was obviously a frustrating journey because you think as an entrepreneur, if Clicks gave me a contract, I can go and raise funding and people will believe in me. Actually, that's not the case. People can still look at a contract and say, yeah, we see it, but it's not enough. Go start selling, succeed, and then come back. So those are the kind of dynamics that you deal with. But ultimately, there is, someone who will come through and help you materialize the dream. But, on the one hand, it felt like such an easy process. It was easy from a conversation perspective and from a me pitching and saying, hey, this is what I can do. But getting a yes or getting the contract and putting the product on shelf was an entirely different process.
Yeah. Because
it required so much. It required slightly bigger team and people who were capable of doing some of the things. I mean, from a logistics perspective, you stop, working only with couriers and now you need to work with logistics trucking companies, for example. From a supply chain perspective, procurement perspective, you stop procuring from like 2-3 smaller suppliers to now thinking about, scale and things like that. It did make the business operation slightly more complicated, but that's a nice complication. It's good problems.
I'm telling you, this is remarkable. Like, oh my gosh, my jaw's almost dropping to the floor.
Thank you.
So I want to touch on the places where you are playing full out as well, because you are very passionate about politics.
Yeah.
Now, many of us would run away. I'm raising my hand. I don't like politics. Listen, I did... So I'm an ethnographer, so it's a long story. Just Google it. Much easier. I'm an ethnographer, and I had to work on the municipality elections to predict, the coalitions and the outcomes of election. It went very well. But that journey with politics for me was rough.
Yeah.
Listen, I take my hat off. So talk me through this political passion that you have, and also how the youth interconnects to that, because you yourself is part of the youth, and I see you as the AOC of South Africa, right?
Wow.
Like, I can see some big things that's going to happen over here. Talk me through it.
I think I love politics, because I think politics for me is not just the political parties and the government. Politics is everywhere. Politics is there in homes, it's there in the streets, in stores, wherever you go, there's politics. But keeping it simple to, governing politics, I'm particularly interested in that because I think it is the most, it's one of those spaces that are so impactful. If we can have a functional government, I think so many other things are going to fall into place. So, and I know that because politics is not easy and running a government is not easy, it is easier for, someone like myself to say, I can change the country through business, which is not wrong, which can be incredibly impactful. You can create jobs, you can, figure out how to support different initiatives in the country. You can do this, you can shape the narrative. But I do think there is something about places where you've seen governments being really, really functional, and how that trickles down to everything and everyone else. It just makes everything else easier. It makes business run more smoothly. It makes healthcare just fall into place. Transportation just becomes seamless. Poverty sort of like, it's easier for people like Masodi, for organizations like Masodi to come in and actually then amplify that impact. And what I'm hoping for is to either directly or indirectly participate in the politics of this country, because as a citizen, there is a sense of duty that I have, that I need to get in there and do the work that is not sexy, and get in there and do the work that might feel incredibly hard, because if not me, then who? But I also feel that because something is not easy, it is very likely that not that many people would then want to go into it. But I think you need a couple of fun people to go into a space. You need a couple of young people to go into a space. You need a couple of different-minded people, even if they're not young, to go into a space and infuse it with some energy and some inspiration for others to say, actually, that is cool. I think there was a time where I remember the government being a cool thing. and saying I work for the government being a cool thing. I might have been super, super young, but there was a time where being part of the government was such an honor. And today, my experience with the perception the government has, especially when you look at social media, we're always complaining, I can't believe the government, whatever. Rightfully so. But a part of me wants to bring the glory and the joy and the fun and the coolness and the innovation back into our government. Because I think we, as citizens, we deserve it, but because I cannot imagine just how incredible this country would be with a fully functional, proud, and just brilliant government. And the more I fantasize about that, the more I am lured to want to get in there myself and be like, oh, that sounds so cool. I want to be there.
Watch this,
that
girl.
So fun.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I'm super excited. It's been such a privilege and such an honor to talk to you. Listen, you're one of those people, your energy introduces you before you walk into a room. You are just like, it's like energy and electricity. Also the other thing I wanted to say is, so we started a youth collaborative with Conscious LeadHERS. And we had our first meeting Monday evening, and I said to them, so important for you to know that so many times, you know, people will say, oh, you are the future leaders. You are not the future leaders. You are leading right now. You are already not handing over the baton to the next generation. You are leading. So it's important for you to always recognize that. And I feel like if we start calling people the future leaders, we're gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for leading, and thank you for being such a courageous Duchess and taking up the courage to tackle systemic issues, something that's very important for us here at Conscious Leaders. So I'm honored that I'm sitting across the table, and I will be voting for you. I'll be watching you.
Yay. Thank you so much.
All right. To our audience, thank you so much for hanging around. My parting thought to you is always just have a growth mindset, and just to always lean into yourself. Anything is possible, and take that dream on with determination, responsibility, excellence, aspiration, and motivation, and know that you've got everything within you to make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now. Dun, 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 dun.